we are affiliated with the BYU Family History Library. As such, these classes are intended for the general public. And we'd like you to keep that in mind with the questions you answer and or ask. And in our answering, we'll try to make them fit the general public. We would like to thank Sister Sorensen for preparing and for her expertise, and we'll turn the time over to her now and let her share her screen with you.
Good afternoon. I'm really happy to be here and be able to teach another class on the Research Wiki. I did teach a session in August. It's on YouTube about basic Research Wiki, and then a second class on actual how to use the Research Wiki for basic research. So today, this class is called Keys to Successful Research Using the Research Wiki. So we'll get a little bit deeper into it, and then I have a few more classes, 3 more classes that we'll be doing that will even take us deeper into the Research Wiki so that you can see even more clearly what resources are available there. It's a fantastic resource for genealogists. So this is how the Research Wiki looks when you open the page, and let's just move on here if I can get it to go. So the Research Wiki is, of course, free because it's through Family Search, and everything on Family Search is always free. It's a genealogical guide to find articles about localities for countries around the world and about topics that include genealogy subjects or record types, how to use records, what records are available online or on Family Search, and so on. It has links all over the internet to databases, websites, resources, research strategies, and genealogical guidance. So you can see this little list of all the things that are available on the wiki. This is, of course, how you get there. You will go to Family Search, to the home page. You can click on the search bar on the menu bar and then Research Wiki, or you can type it into the address bar of your browser, familysearch.org wiki, and they'll find it. If you use it a lot, which I do, you can create a bookmark on your browser toolbar so you can go to it with just clicking on the bookmark. So our topic today is keys to success. And so these are the 5 keys that I'm going to talk about. These are kind of 5 steps that most people agree are just sort of general keys to being able to do genealogical research successfully. So the first is gather, the second is choose, the third is find, fourth is evaluate, and fifth is share. And we'll go through all 4 of those. For more information, there's that, you can look it up on the wiki under Family History for Beginners. So key number 1 is gather. If you want to get success in genealogy, and especially out of the wiki, you need to have names, you need to have dates, and you need to have locations. My motto is genealogy is geography. If you don't know a location, you're going to be stuck pretty much trying to find anything on your ancestor. So the first step is to gather and record all the known information that you can find about a person and also the family of that person. Make sure to record where you get the information, and that especially includes conversations. If you find family records, you can write down the information from the family records, or you can just put the family records on a scan, put it in your computer, and just have it in a file that way. But as long as you have all the information in a place that's easy for you to access and that you've recorded at. So where do you get this information? Talk to family members. I've spoken with my mother a lot and recorded some of her stories and recorded some of her memories. I've asked her questions about her family members, what color hair they had, what color eyes they had, when they were born, where they lived. You can find photographs that your family might have around and see if you can identify the people in them. My husband has done that very successfully with a lot of the photographs his grandparents had, and he's found people that he wasn't actually aware of. If you can find personal letters, journals, cards, any kind of written material will have information that may or may not, but hopefully may be helpful. And last of all, books, Bibles, baby books, family record books. You can find scrapbooking. My mom has a lot of things in her scrapbook that she made. Wedding and birth announcements, funeral programs, school papers, passports, medical records, so many records that you should be able to find around houses. Your own house, your aunt's house, grandma's house will help you find this information. The other thing, after you've gathered all of that information that's personal, is you can look in compiled records and see what's available there. So for example, Family Search Family Tree has genealogies. We can do a class on that sometime. Ancestry.com, Find My Past, and MyHeritage are all compiled genealogies. Everybody who is on there has their own family tree, and you can, if they're in public, you can look at their family trees and see if any of them are related to you. You can look up on Google family newsletters. Some families put their family newsletters online, and if you find a family newsletter, that might be helpful. And family histories, for example, my father wrote a family history of the Thomas Hicken family, and it is online, and you just have to look it up on Google, and it's right there. You can also look on Family Search books or in the Wiki. Sometimes the Wiki will have certain kinds of family histories. You can definitely search on the Wiki for the IGI, and it will tell you what it is and where to find it. Genealogies of different families can sometimes be found on the Wiki. Not all families have genealogies on the Wiki, however, but you can look on locations and see what kind of genealogies are available in certain locations. Their biographies, if you look on category biography or by location, you can sometimes find biographies, especially of famous people. Local histories are very important, and you can find those on the Wiki by location. Of course, you can also sometimes find those in books. And then the last one is the Family Group Records Collection. If you look that up, it will tell you how to use it and where to find it. So once you've found as much information as you can, you're going to record that information using a notebook. You can use a spreadsheet, family group sheets, pedigree charts, and research logs, or a program such as Roots Magic. I know a lot of people really love Roots Magic. It has a new thing on it now that you can use as a research log. So if you haven't used Roots Magic before, I really recommend that you check it out. You can make your own forms. You can find them on Wiki or on in these other two places that I've written down here. And this is what a family group sheet or an ancestral chart would look like. And they're very helpful, actually, to keep your information straight. If you can find one that's interactive online, that's even better, because then you can fill it out online. So the second key is to choose. Once you have that information that you've gathered, you need to look at it and look at things and make sure that things are accurate if you possibly can, or things that you want to find out if they're accurate, if things don't look quite right. Those are things you might want to use as research questions. So the questions you're asking are: who is in your family, where did they live, and when did they live? So in order to do good research, you always have to craft a goal. A research question is a good way to do that. So for example, I want to find the military record of my great-grandfather in World War I, or what is the exact date of birth of my great-grandmother? That's the type of question. And there are all kinds of questions. You just have to figure it out as you're reviewing that known information that you have. Key number 3 is finding new information using the Research Wiki. Now, there are lots of other ways to find new information. I'm not telling you that the Research Wiki is the only way to go, but you'll want to use the Research Wiki under any circumstance because it's almost always going to lead you in a good direction. So the first thing to do in finding new information is to review your research question, then do a search topic, a search in the Research Wiki. Choose the resource that you think would best help, then create a research plan with just a few links. Don't try to do everything at once. Research using those links, record your findings, change your plan as necessary, and add new links and research them. So we're going to go over each of those things. So the first thing is to do a keyword, and that could be, for example, if you were trying to find a military record, you could look up military records. A topic, if you wanted to find out about the history, for example, of Wasatch County, that's a topic that you could put in there, or a locality. If you wanted to find someone in Württemberg, Germany, for example, you would put that into the Research Wiki search. You can see where the arrow is, that's where you'll do it. You can also search at the top right corner. So you just type that topic or locality into the search box on the home page or in the top right corner, search through the list of articles that comes up, and then click on the article that you think would be useful for you to read. Any of the links in the article that you see, you can also click on. So here is the topic search for the question, I would like to find the military records of my grandfather. He was in World War I, and I know he was, and I would like to find his records. So I typed World War I United States military records in there. And this is the page that came up. So first, when you get a page like this, first thing you want to do is look through the contents boxes. There are two of them. There's a navigation box on the left. That tells you what's on the page itself. And then you have a navigation box on the right that steers you towards records. So on the left, you see all the subjects that this article covers. And on the right, you see all the records and types of records and places that you can go to find records. So you can jump right to the records, but my recommendation is always look through the contents box on the left and find out as much information as you can about the place that you're looking at or about the subject that you want to find out. So I would read through a lot of those things, not everything, but I would definitely read through some of those other articles a little bit. And that's because there's background information in those articles that will actually help you a lot. I mean, if you don't know, for example, that the German Empire was created in 1871, you're going to run around a lot before you figure out certain things about where things are and why the localities are so weird. So you need the history. So the first thing to do is look at the history, and then you can look at, if it's a different language, you can look at the languages and see what languages. For example, in Switzerland, you're going to find records in at least 3 different languages, probably 4. Handwriting sometimes is really difficult, so you may need to learn how to read that handwriting. It will teach you about culture, the geography. It will sometimes give you biographies of famous people from that region. It talks about the religions and churches. For example, if you don't know anything about France and you want to find out what your ancestor was he Catholic, was he Lutheran, was he Protestant, was he Huguenot? And you don't even know what a Huguenot is, right? So you want to learn all those things from these things. Nobility names. Maps and gazetteers are extremely helpful. As I said, genealogy is geography. Sometimes you can find things in archives and libraries, genealogical and historical societies, word lists, and there are tons of things. So I would never skip the background information. The next thing that you want to look at on the right side is the research content. These will link you to online databases and descriptions of how to use those databases. They're also usually research strategies, especially for beginning genealogists, and they'll show you how to use things, the tools that you find. They'll give you how-to guides to localities. They're the old guides that were at the Family History Center in Salt Lake for a long time that people could use to find information. Now they've got them online. And then there's, of course, the guided research, which we talked about in the lessons that we did last fall. Usually they have maps and jurisdictions, which are again very, very important, because not every little town had its own jurisdiction. They were usually part of a larger locality, and then they have answers to common research questions and help for common research questions, and even certain specific common questions that people have about those localities. So this is again a very important part of your research. So here for that research question that I formulated for my grandfather, his World War I historical record collections, I clicked on the right-hand side under the World War I historic record collections, and this is where it is. This is what comes up: a whole list of national collections and a whole list of state collections. So my grandpa lived in Utah, so I would also look under World War I service questionnaires. But for right now, I'm just interested in finding his military records. So I looked under that, and I see that there's the Veterans Administration Master Index and the World War I draft registration cards. And those look to me like maybe they might be the most helpful to me right now. First thing. So those are the two that I would write down as my two resources that I want to look at. Now, if you don't know what kind of research you want to look at, then you can identify actual categories that would be helpful for you in the search that you're doing. The search that I was doing needed specific things, but maybe you don't know exactly what kind of records to look at. So the Family Search Family History Library and the Family History Centers all have these basic categories of records. They have compiled records, which we talked about a little bit. Those are databases that are just basically compiled genealogies. They have original records, like, for example, birth certificates and census records, background information, as we talked about, and also finding aids. So the kinds of records that you will look for are compiled records and original records. So the original records generally tend to be vital records and civil registration, church records, cemeteries, censuses, probate, military records, which is what I was looking for, immigration and naturalization records, people who came in and became a citizen of another country, and court records. Now there's a lot of other records besides that, such as newspapers, county histories, taxation, land, probate records, business, medical, school records. You see how many records there are: directories and address books. There's a kind of record from, that's sort of a compiled record, but it's also a family book that you can look at in Germany, for example, called Ortsfamilienbücher, which are, you wouldn't normally think of that when you think of these kinds of things, but there's so many records. So if you want to select a record type and you're not sure what record type to search for, in the wiki, search a guide to research, as you can see right there. At the bottom of the page, there's a section called Selecting Record Types, and it lists about 25 different objectives that you as a researcher might have. For example, age, birth date, birthplace, death date, cemetery, burial, and so on. So you look at those objectives, and then they give you a list of, here, as you can see, of the records that will help you get the information about those objectives. So I suggest that little guide to research is a very useful tool that you might want to look up on the wiki for yourself. Once you choose the type of research that you think would best help you find your answer, then you will click on those. So here on mine, I could click on the Family Search World War I Historical Record Collections, Family History Library Selected World War I Collections, census draft records, and service records. And any of those would probably be useful for me. So I choose 2 or 3 links, 3 or 4 links, depending on how much time you have at the time you're doing it. And the ones I chose were the United States Veterans Administration Master Index, the United States World War I Draft Registration Cards, and the United States World War I American Expeditionary Forces deaths. Now, actually, my grandpa didn't die, but if he had died, that would have been a good choice. Then, so the United States Veterans Administration Master Index, if you click on that, then it will come right up to your search on Family Search, how to use this record collection, and also you can just search. So I put my grandpa's name in there, and these are the two that came up. It came up underneath the Veterans Administration Master as Heber City and also in St. Louis, Missouri. So I would need to check out both of those. And this is just a little tip right here. So when I would do that, what I would do is I would save both of those to my Microsoft Edge collection. And I don't know if any of you have used this or not, but it's fairly new. It's wonderful and amazing. And as you can see, this is mine. This is part of mine. I have a lot of collections. The first one is actually a collection of a lot of censuses that I found for a family that I was working on. I couldn't figure out whether the wife's name was Maloney or Dobson. And so I was putting all the censuses that I could find that I thought might be hers and her husband's in this collection so that I could go back to them later and look at them again. So, and there's also another one for Charles Wright and Ellen Potter down there. It's again, it's the same type of thing. I collected all the information in the collection. And then if I want to eventually, after I'm done, I can just exit out. So I really suggest using the Microsoft Edge Collections tool. And then when I searched those two databases that came up with my grandpa's name, I would also want to record the information if it was helpful to me. I would definitely want to record that I had made that search and that I had actually found that record. But if it's important and I can use it, then I can put it into a form. These are some helps. Appropriate forms is a really good place to look. Appropriate forms, just make the search, use appropriate forms. And it has a lot of different information on it. This one is, this particular URL goes to prepare a research log. And there's also a couple of other ones called research logs from the National Institute. And then there's one called a to-do list for my ancestor. Now, to-do list isn't exactly the same as a research log, but it can help you fill your research log out. So a lot of people don't like to use research logs, and I really don't blame them, because if you look on the left up here, you have this William Fraser research log. That is like super old fashioned. And some people I know still use these kinds of things in there, and I just really admire them because it takes a lot of work that I'm not really honestly willing to do. So what I do is I put mine into a list or a log, kind of sort of, this isn't exactly my log, but something like this. This is just sort of a suggestion here on the right where it's in the Quattro Pro on a spreadsheet. And you put down your ancestor's name, you put down your research question. What is the Oscar Wilde, of course, the playwright. What is the birth date of Oscar Wilde? And I know his death date is 2nd June, so I put it under death and so on. So you can make your own up on your own spreadsheet. Or this other one, the blue one down here, is a family, that's a family search sheet that you can use. That one is really nice because it is interactive. You can type into it. And if you have Roots Magic 8, this is Roots Magic 8, and it has its own section called tasks that you can use as a research log, and it is fantastic. And I would really recommend that you check out Roots Magic 8 for using this type of thing so that you can keep track of what you've done. It's really, really good. But the main point I'm trying to make here is make sure you keep a record of where you've looked. Otherwise, you kind of spin your wheels and go in circles. Now, on the wiki, you can also search using other tools. You don't just have to use those two things. So there's the buttons. The buttons will take you to other pages on the family search site. And the two that I think you'll use are the Louisiana Online Genealogy Records, for example. Anytime you go to a state or a country, it will have a blue button like that that says Online Genealogy Records. So that is something that it just brings up all the records that Family Search wants to show you. The other one is called Ask the Community, and that will take you to the community pages for all the different country locations and so on that Family Search or Facebook, and even some other ones outside of Facebook and Family Search have. And you can go to those communities and ask them questions, and it's really great. So I would suggest using those buttons. Use all the navigational boxes that you find on any article. There's different articles have different things on them and different contents. So use the navigation boxes, click on the links to go to other articles. Use the clickable maps. There's a really fantastic map for England called Historical Maps that gives you so much information that you will just be so grateful for whoever it was that made that map up. And that's true of a lot of them. There are some really wonderful maps, and they will show you other maps that are online as well, so that you can go to, say, for example, Myers Gazetteer. They'll show you where the gazetteers are that will help you. And you can see these other two kinds of navigational boxes there. So when you're searching, sometimes you can't find an article under a topic. I would suggest that you type in category. You can use the same type of thing on other search engines. Type in category with a semicolon, or I mean a colon, and then put in your topic. And it will come up with a list of articles in that category for locations. It comes up with a little bit different list of articles than you would normally find if you just type the topic in. But that it brings up the different subtopics in that category. So you'll find a lot of things that way that you might not find otherwise. And the other thing is you can use it for a help. Like there's that question mark help that we have. I find that a little difficult sometimes to use. And so if I can't find something on there, I will go to the Family Search Wiki and I will look up the topic under help : and sometimes, but not always, it will bring up an article on the help that I didn't find somewhere else. The last thing is, don't forget to use your family history centers, and those are on the wiki as well. You can find the family history centers on the wiki by clicking on family history centers. I mean, searching that, and it will show you where to find one in your area, and they're everywhere. If there's a stake anywhere, there's going to be family history centers somewhere. It's also important for you to remember the BYU Family History Library. We have virtual help and telephone help every day during our business hours. And you can also search the BYU Family History Library on the wiki, and it will give you more information. So you can see there's always so much information on the wiki that you may not have realized was there. So just to reiterate, when you search, this is just about searching. You're going to identify a record category. You're going to choose a record type. You're going to select 3 or 4 specific records to search. Then you're going to find the records, search for the information you're seeking, and then record the records in your research log. Even if you didn't find any new information, record the record that you searched so that you know that you searched it and you won't go back to it again. I've done that before, and it's really frustrating when I haven't written something down and realize, oh, I already looked at this. So it's good to write it down. So key number 4 is evaluate. After you've done your research, review the records. Go back if you didn't do it while you were clicking through really quickly and view the original documents and images. I found so many things by looking at original documents that I could never have found if I just looked at the indexing. I did an indexing the other day that had only on birth records, they asked you only for the father's surname and the mother's maiden name. The maiden name and the mother's first name and the dad's first names were there. Their places of birth were there, but the indexing doesn't ask for that much. It just wants to get the records in an index in as small of a format as possible. So view the original documents. You can always snip them with the snip tool, which comes up if you have Windows, it comes up in the bottom. You can also see like that. You can snip to your tool and then just use it to snip whatever is on the page that you want to save, and save it in that person's file in your computer. Or if you don't have a computer file on them, just print it out and keep it in a paper file, whatever you want to do with it. And then after you've reviewed those records, looked at the originals, snipped and saved what you wanted to snip and save, decide what the information actually tells you. Does it tell you who the person is? Does it tell you when they did whatever it was you're looking for? Where did they do it? What was it that they did actually? And then the last thing that's really super important here in doing the evaluation is to organize the information in a way that you can compare it. Organize the information, yes, but compare it to all the other information you have, because sometimes you will come up with something that will be totally different from what you expected, or you will find something, a record, it just looks so much like the record that you really, really want, but turns out it isn't, because when you compare it to other things, you just know it's not. That happened to me the other day. I was doing censuses on that family that I was telling you about that was on my collections. And I was really, really sure that I had the right family. And as it turned out, I had not the right family. And I had picked up that information from someone else who had done compiled genealogy on that. And this is what happens a lot of times with the compiled genealogies. You don't want to trust them because they're often right, but often not right. And so I picked up that information. When I organized the censuses that I had found, I found that there were some inconsistencies. And both families had the exact same names of the parents, and several of the children were the same. So it can be very, very difficult sometimes. So you have to compare. So organize it in a format that you can compare to other information you have. And the last thing in evaluating is come to a conclusion. Did it really answer your question? If it did not, then you can go to the next step again, go back and start over with the research, choose more information, choose more records, and so on and so on. Yeah, this is really fun. It doesn't, if you look at it this way, it seems like a lot of work, and it is. But on the other hand, if you like to solve puzzles, there's nothing better in the world than genealogy for solving puzzles. I get such a great kick out of, oh, that wasn't that family. Now I know which family it really is. And I can feel so satisfied with myself because I got things right. So this is just a little bit of information about doing the actual evaluation of a record itself. Okay, so this is the record information that came up from my grandfather. This was the indexed part of it, and you can see on the left. And then I looked at the original, which was on the right. So you have to look at it and you think, what's the origin? Well, this is the United States Veteran Administration Master Index, so it's probably right. Now I say probably because I have seen things on, for example, the Social Security Administration's information that wasn't right. So don't always take everything completely as right just because it comes from a government. But note the origin, note the quality and the reliability of the source material. So this is probably pretty reliable. Review the original documents. So there's the original document. You can see it hardly has anything on it. It just says his birth date and his type of military service and so on. But at least I know that he was a corporal in the 38F A Battalion D. So now I can look up those records. Do you see? And that wasn't on the, you can see it wasn't on the index. So if I hadn't looked at the original record, I wouldn't have found out that he was a corporal in which battery and which unit he was in. So now I can actually use that information. So it's really great. Even though it seems like it doesn't have anything on it, it does. And then decide what the information will tell you. And as you can see, it says my grandpa's name, tells his birth date. It says where he was born there, Heber, Utah. And what did he do? He was a corporal in the 38F unit. So now I can use that. Isn't that exciting? So organize your information, compare it to the other information. Are there conflicts? Is it complete? And then come to a conclusion. Is it accurate? Is it convincing? And you need to find more information. So key number 5 is to share. And I think of all the things, this is actually in some ways the most important. Share your information. Don't keep it to yourself. It's not fair. There's so much information that people have locked up for one reason and another. And okay, you did put in the effort, you did put in the time. It's your information to an extent, but this person is not only your ancestor. There are lots of other people who are going to be related to him or her. And so if you keep it to yourself and other people don't have it, it's not very fair. So this is what I would suggest. Share. Create a new profile page if you need to on Family Search, or update your family tree, or update your ancestry tree, or whatever other program you use by attaching the source to the person. Create a memory if there's something there that you can create a memory from. Write a blog that you can share your research on. People, you'd be surprised how many people read genealogy blogs. And if you put it under your surnames, they'll find it online and they can read it. Use social media to share your information with friends and family. We have a little part of WhatsApp that is just for our family genealogy information, and our kids and our grandkids like to go and read stuff that we've found. Join a Family Searcher Facebook community and share your stuff with other people in those communities. And you can write and publish a family book when you get all your information finished. So do share. And if it's at all appropriate for you, make your information on other programs available to people as well. And then after you're all done with that, repeat the process again. Just do it again. Choose another record to look at. Choose another research objective for this person or another person, and learn about somebody else. Solve another puzzle. Have a really great time doing that. That's what I say, have fun. So the 5 steps are: remember, gather, choose, find, evaluate, and share. And don't forget that we have Zoom conferences for family history help at the BYU Family History Library. You can schedule them, or you can just call in Zoom at our virtual family history desk and get somebody to help you right there. So that's pretty much all I have. If you have some questions, I think I can maybe answer them.
Sister Sorensen, there's been, at the very beginning, you mentioned about Microsoft Edge collections, and also the Family Search research log. Could you just give them a little bit more information on where to find those?
Sure. Let me just, I'm going to move this over. Can you see that now? Did that page come up, or is it still the same page?
No, we have a page. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the historical maps I was telling you about from the Wiki, but I'm going to show you the collections. So if you're on Edge, I'm going to shut that off right now. If you're on Edge, you see up here in this little corner, it says collections right there with a plus mark. It's not very obvious. If you click on that, it will come up and say, tell you about the collections. I've got mine already started, so it's not going to give me information, but it'll give you information and ask you if you want to be part of what is that organization anyway? And you say no thanks, and then they won't make you do it. And then you just start a new collection. So when you start a new collection, you just type in the name of the collection that you want, and then you can add a page. So if I was going to say, maybe make a collection called maps, I would just add that current page there, and it's right there. So whenever I want to go to that now, I can find that collection and find my whatever map I'm looking for. So this is sorted. You can see it's just really in a big mess. It's actually the way it is right now is the order that I put them in on. So if you click on that 3 little dots, it'll sort it by name, it'll sort it by date created, and it'll sort by recently used. So it's very, very helpful. So if I wanted to find it alphabetically, I could do it that way.
So it is collections is a Microsoft Edge extension is basically what it is.
It's actually just on Microsoft, and it's basically what it is just your favorites. It's on the favorites there.
So you don't have to be using Edge to use it if you're using Windows?
I don't know if you can get it onto Chrome or not. I don't know. I only really use Edge. I use Google on Edge. I don't use Chrome hardly at all anymore. I just use Edge, and so it's there whenever I want it on Edge. So if you have Edge, it'll be there. You can check and see if you can get it as an extension on Chrome. I'm not sure if you can or not.
I know I use Firefox, and they have a very similar tool called Pocket, where you can collect articles or anything you find, pages, and you can store it using files. And I think that's what this is there
It
is
sounds like
Edge's version
similar.
of that.
Yeah, it sounds like a similar thing. So I would suspect, and Chrome has, I know Chrome has a favorites thing that you can use as well. It's not exactly the same way, though. It doesn't work exactly the same way. My husband and I both just really use collections like crazy. We really like it.
Now, the Family Search research log, how do they find that?
Okay, so I'll just leave this up and help you find it. Okay, so I'm going to do another, by the way, I'm going to do two more on research. So we'll get really deep into research tools and research resources in the next two that I'm going to do on the wiki. And then I'll do the last one called Secrets of the Wiki, and that will be kind of just learning like things that you wouldn't normally think would be on the wiki. So if you're going to do that, you'll go to the wiki, and this is an easy way to do it. Just go to research. I already had it up. Research logs. Come on. Research logs for genealogy. And here's a bunch of them right here. And there's some on Family Search right there. You can either look it up on the wiki the same way. So if you wanted to do it at Wiki, you would go Wiki Home, and you would just look up research logs. Why do I keep spelling it already? Okay, research logs, and click on that, and then you get that same article. Okay, so this just tells you how to do it, and it gives you an example of a research log. And it also takes you down here and shows you what a research log looks like, and some general suggestions, and then so this is like some other articles on it. And I think this may not be the one. There is another one. If you click on some of those other ones, they will give you some places to go. Okay, so this is, for example, I just clicked on that. This is one that gives you some information about research logs. Okay, but there are a couple of other articles that will send you to other places, and we'll talk about. This is another one. This is the one I was telling you about that's interactive. So you can see, you can actually type in on this one. I like this one. I use it for some things.
Gordon was asking, is there any way to back up Edge collections and access them on another computer?
To back it up, I don't know. I've never tried. I guess we could look at Learn More and see. It looks like there's a Learn More here, so you could go there and see what they say about that, because I've never tried backing it up. My husband backs everything of ours up to Backblaze, and I'm not sure if it backs up all those kinds of things or not.
Thank you.
Sister Grant is going to be doing a class starting, I think, May 1st on the timeline grid too, which is another way of looking at things over time. So that's another option too.
That would be a really good class, I think, to use to learn about how to keep track of things. Sounds good. Are there any more questions?
Gordon's asking again, can I access my collection? So if this collection you showed us, can he get to that from another computer? Say he's not on his home computer.
Okay, the way you can do it, I use this at the library too. And all you have to do is sign into your Microsoft account. So if with your Hotmail account or your Outlook account, just sign into your Microsoft account and then use the Edge that's on that computer. So that's all I do. I go to the library, I sign into my Microsoft account, and I've got all my collections right there. Yeah, as the backing up part, I don't know, but definitely you can find it in another computer. That's all you need is to know your password for your Microsoft account. That works.
Good feedback for you, Sister Sorensen. Brenda says, I remember seeing Wiki in Roots Tech last year. This has been a great help on how to actually use it. I like
Good.
all the detail you use. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. And the one last year that they did is now out of date on the Wiki because they improved the Wiki and put in a lot of different things after they had done that. And that was a really great, I agree, that was a great Roots Tech program that they did that day. But yeah, it's actually changed a lot since then because they had improved it right. I think it was the end of March last year. So thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Share your slides with us. Just send them to the BYU FHL Missionary Gmail, and we'll get them posted with the recording.
Yes, I have them as a PDF.
Awesome.
Okay.